A Roblox game without pay-to-win game passes and with actual entertaining and engaging gameplay to it? That sounds like a dream. And this game is that dream come true. Blocktails. It's just such an amazing game and what I believe myself personally to be peak Roblox now. It might just be a demo, but it's looking to be one of the greatest Roblox games out there. Forget what I said about a dusty trip. This is peak Roblox. It meets most of the requirements for being a good game in my eyes. Now, of course, it's all subjective, but I still think it's a good game no matter the bias. So anyway, what is Blocktails? It's a multiplayer turn-based RPG game with about a decent amount of the mechanics you'd expect. Character building, abilities, and all that. This might sound pretty basic to its core and everything, but hold on. There's details here and there that reference other games, and one of its main inspirations is Earthbound, which is obviously stated in the description of the game itself. But still, the game has its own charm, which is heavily complemented by its entire aesthetic. 2010's Roblox. Now, by just playing the game and looking at everything, I really couldn't say otherwise. But anyway, just seeing this type of theme and style is quite refreshing considering what we have flooding the front page of Roblox nowadays. But as a Roblox player since 2016, I don't really have any sense of nostalgia for the early 2010s, but it still feels pretty cool to experience it in some type of manner or form. The entire game is a reference to the past, as alluded to the maps, NPCs, and its overall entirety. This should have been the game to be plastered all over the classic event, since I think this defines classic Roblox. So anyway, back to the gameplay. So like I said, it's pretty much a standard turn-based RPG when it comes to the actual combat and the overall rundown of it. You got normal attacks that don't require SP, attacks that do require SP, defensive abilities, and some passives. If you're a regular or just turn-based connoisseur, you should know how to use these to the best of your ability. And since these things are pretty basic, I won't get into much more depth about them. So here's the next big thing about the combat. Quick time events during actions. Kind of like Super Paper Mario, which is another thing that this game was heavily inspired by. For most, if not all of the actions in this game committed by enemies and you, there's gonna be a minigame or quick time event that pops up. Initiating the event successfully could lead to more damage, or even a full-out parry if it's coming from the other side. Some people might find this annoying or even unnecessary, but that's really just a skill issue. From what I've seen, the majority and I enjoy this feature, and I'll give you the main reason why. Extra engagement, and also because it's fun. But probably a good reason for why people stray away from turn-based games is the lack of engagement with the actual gameplay, which is an absurd take in my opinion, but people are people. So besides that, it's really just a great feature. Although it's not really required to complete these action minigames, you should still do it, and also the game itself kind of wants you to do it as well, which makes a lot of sense because actually following along with the minigames is pretty rewarding, as I've said. In my opinion, this is the main highlight of this game's combat. So another important element to this game's combat would be something most needed for turn-based games: strategy. And I am glad to say, it very much exists in this game. Well, it's not that complex, but at least it's still there, because for the most part, it's about what you would expect, conserving XP and HP and stuff like that. But then you eventually encounter different types of enemies, like the porcupine for example, where you're unable to use your ball attacks and forced to use something else in your current arsenal. This may seem like the bare minimum for quote-unquote strategy, but at least you're obligated to change up your playstyle here and there. But where I'd say strategy is needed the most is during bosses, which is pretty obvious. I mean, sure, you could just brute force your way through everything, but that's entirely dependent on RNG and just gear in general. Anyway, for most boss fights in the current demo, you kind of need some kind of plan to take them down. Let's take the Nubador fight for example. Over the course of time during the fight, you start to notice each enemy's pattern and moves, slowly adapting to it, and also getting better at the quick time events, getting heals in, getting damage in, and all that. So that all sounded pretty straightforward, right? Well, that's because it kind of is. The simplicity of this game's combat and strategy is fine, and I do not think it needs to be anything more grand than that. I just think it perfectly does what it wants to. But luckily, it doesn't get boring quickly, as you'll be introduced to new mechanics and systems here and there. So here's the other important part of the game: cards. Introduced to you right after the prologue boss by the best character in the game. these cards are basically where the building part of the entire game is. It's where you unlock different abilities, gain stats, and all that. And yet again, most of the things are pretty self-explanatory. If it looks like a new ability, it probably is. If it says it lowers attack power, it does. I'd say this card system is looking to be pretty promising in the future demos, because as of right now, there's not really much experimental features with them right now. Just waiting for that one player in the future just to one-shot everything with the perfect build. But in totality, I guess builds don't matter if you have an overpowered friend with you. That's right. Remember how I said this game was multiplayer? You'd kind of be doing yourself a huge disservice if you haven't played this game with your friends, because trust me, it's a whole lot more fun. And I guess it's also a lot more beneficial, but that's not the main point. Just fighting enemies together and killing bosses with other people just makes the entire experience way better. Everybody just full throttling it or playing it out is also another highlight of multiplayer, but I'd say multiplayer is needed the most in that entire secret dungeon area, which is kind of the endgame. For the first demo, they already got endgame content, but anyway, other than that, there's not really much else left in the first demo. Quests don't exist, and other things like that. And exploration is really for cool Easter eggs or just more cards. NPCs add to the overall theme and aesthetic of the game, and provide about nothing else. Oh, and the story? I didn't really pay attention to it, but I'll go find out about it in some video essay. But at least they actually took the time to make a story, which makes sense, and is also pretty rare for Roblox games, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the first demo. Next one's coming pretty soon. Can't wait to see what they added to the game. But yeah, this game is pretty amazing nonetheless. The theme, charm, engagement, gameplay, it's all there in this game. It's a thoroughly enjoyable experience, which I don't think you need any proper knowledge for anything beforehand to really enjoy this game. Going forward, I really hope more Roblox games are like this, since this is a genuinely great game on here. And a lot of other content creators and players seem to think the same thing as well. So tell me your opinions on this great game. And with that being said, hold up chat. So Demo 2 came out during the recording of the script, and you know I had to play it first. I thought it would be coming out on the 15th, but I guess I was wrong. Anyway, the new demo is a pretty cool addition. It added new areas, secrets, Easter eggs, new cards, and all that. But my main complaint here was that it was kind of too short. This might have been due to me being around the max level, which made the enemies pretty simple to take on. And the puzzles have kept a great amount of simplicity. I also found a new sword, the Venom Shank, to be a little bit underwhelming, but I get its overall premise and understand it. I also enjoyed the final boss. It was pretty challenging, to be honest. And also the OST goes even harder. Just listen to the song in the background. It's a one-off song literally just for your Komodo dragon and the 29th floor of the pit, but we don't talk about that. Pretty cool though. I just definitely think more things are bound to be more grand in the next demo, but we'll see. So now, with that being said, see ya fellows.